Transform your home in one weekend and get big savings on everything for your project at Menards. Menards carries the largest selection of Purdy painting tools you need to get your painting project started. From brushes, paint, roller covers, and even paint kits. Hurry in and save big money on Purdy painting supplies. Get everything you need for your painting project at Menards. Plus, check out Menards.com for more great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
BSM presents The Tim Weisberg Show, streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Send us app chat messages and open line voicemails using the WBSM app. Now, The Tim Weisberg Show.
Good morning. Welcome into the program. Happy Thursday to you, even if it's a very wet one. Rain coming down. It's been coming down since last night, and it's not pleasant out there. Definitely going to want, as Ceci likes to say, your rain gear. I don't know if Kelly Bates says that. I can't remember the guy's name, but he says it too. And I always think to myself when they say that, do I even have rain gear? I have an umbrella. And that's even a relatively new development for me because I never use it. But I saw one somewhere and I was like, you know what? I should put that in the car and have an umbrella. Anyway, hopefully you don't have to spend too much time outside today. But if you do, you're going to need that rain gear because it's going to be like this all day long. All day long. So you might as well stay inside, listen to the radio, and call me, 508-996-0500, and use app chat or open line voicemails on the WBSM app. I had mentioned, too, that we're going to be doing some stuff with the open line feature on the app, and one of the things that I'm thinking about, but I don't know how it'll work, because it's going to depend on some advanced planning on your part. But if it's one thing people love to hear on the radio, it's birthday shout-outs. And I've been reluctant to do them here on the program because I don't have somebody to help me screen the calls in the morning. You know, Casey used to be here in the morning with Phil, but her role has changed. And she has different duties and works different hours, so she's not here early in the morning. So I don't really have somebody to help me gather up all that information. And just opening the phone lines to it, say, hey, if you want to call in and say happy birthday to somebody, do it now. Doesn't always work either because the people who want to do that might not be listening at that time. And the other thing is, you know, if you do it at a certain time, if you're like a music station, yeah, you can do it every day at 7:45. But if you're a talk station, you have to be ready to go with the flow, and things might change, and you know, news might develop, or a caller might be really interesting, and you stay on the phone a little bit, and you don't really get to the birthdays right away. So there's a lot of things that have to be able to fluctuate. So my thought was that if you had birthday wishes that you wanted to send to someone, you could record it on the app and send it in the day before. So if there's somebody that you want to wish a happy birthday to tomorrow, some point today, the earlier the better, you can open up the WBSM app, hit the open line button, and record your birthday wish for that person. And then I can gather them all up every afternoon before the show the next day and play them on the air. So I'm thinking we may try that and see if it works. See if people are interested. And some people might not care at all. They might say, But I'm trying to think of ways to not only have different features in the show, but also get more audio out of you so that people can hear you instead of hearing me. Yeah, you could send me an app chat message or an email saying, can you wish, Joe a happy birthday? Can you wish Mary a happy birthday? But it sounds better when it's coming from you. So feel free to try that out if you'd like to. And if we get enough of them, we'll formalize the segment and do it at the same time or around the same time every day that we can, as close to it as we can. But it may float a bit depending on the conversation on the air and guests that come in and things like that. But you can open up the WBSM app, hit the open line button. It's going to ask you what kind of media you want to send over. You want to record audio. You're just going to hit the button to record, say what you want to say, and then hit stop. Then it'll send it over to me, and I can preview them and put them all together. But I try to be done with my day. I mean, I'm never done, but I try to be done with my day by 3 p.m. So try to get it in before then. And if you ever can't get it in before then, you can always wish somebody a belated birthday. So last night, New Bedford Mayor John Mitchell presented his proposed budget to the City Council. Now, the City Council will take that budget and through committee meetings, will work on reducing it. The council can't add to the budget, but they can cut from the budget, and they like to do that. So Mayor Mitchell submitted a $536.3 million proposed budget, which included material funding increases to the school and police departments. So because the state educational aid that the state gives to the city for schools has increased, that requires New Bedford to contribute more to the schools. So to get the maximum number of dollars from the state to help with New Bedford schools, which New Bedford Public Schools is very dependent on that state money. It could never function on its own without that state money. So in order to get that state money, the budget for the school has to increase. The funding for the school has to increase. And according to Mayor Mitchell, they were using $3 from the state for every $1 from the city. So, and that tends to be an area where cuts can't be made. They're only going to level fund that. They're not going to go beyond the city's not going to say, well, if we only have to put in, I don't know the exact number. I will open up the email with the information. But if you look at the numbers are, so education, 60.1% of the budget goes to education. The city isn't going to, and if 60.1% of the budget is the bare minimum that the city needs to put in, they're not going to say, well, you know what, let's put in 65%. They just got to get to that number so that they get the maximum state dollars. And then the other part that will increase is the police department, which public safety takes up 12.3% of the proposed budget. And the reason why the police department is getting an increase, and people say, whoa, hold on. I thought they didn't have as many officers as they've had in the past. I thought they've had trouble hiring officers. So if there's less police officers, why do we have to pay more for the police department? And there's a reason for that. That additional 10.5% increase, or $2.8 million, has to go toward recruiting efforts and retaining the police who are already here by being able to pay them more. So yes, it's an issue that they're having trouble hiring officers, but they're having trouble hiring police officers everywhere. What is a specific problem here in New Bedford is having, and not that it's specific just to New Bedford, but one of the things that New Bedford should be able to control is keeping the officers that it has. And that's been an issue. We've seen them leave to go to other municipalities. We've seen them become firefighters instead of police officers. We've seen them retire and take jobs in the private sector when they still have plenty of years left that they could be working for the department. So this increase in the police budget will help them to be able to retain the officers that they do have, while hopefully filling some of the positions that have been empty. And then less of the budget, the proposed budget, goes to city services. And that's probably where, and that's of course includes the schools, public safety, and city government. But if they're increasing the school budget, if they're increasing the police budget, then where does that reduction come from? It would come from city services, the city government part of it. What is that going to mean? Well, probably less positions. As we know, the city council will make cuts there. They normally cut staff positions. It's where they can save money. But eventually it gets to the point where it becomes too lean. You cut this position, you cut that position, you ask someone else to do more. By the time you get to year 3 or 4 of that, who else can you cut? It's like if here on the radio station we said, you know what, we're going to remove one host every year for the next couple of years. Eventually you get down to only one host. You remove that person, then you've got no local hosts. So that's where the fine line will be in trying to make some of these budget reductions this year. But does it mean that you will get less services for your tax dollar? Hopefully not. But a let me give you the exact number. A $536.3 million budget. Let's just say that they can reduce that by a few million. So you get it down to $530 million. That's still a lot of money. At a time when people think that their taxes are already too high, and where they're concerned that they're not getting enough for their tax dollar, and where they're keeping an eye on their water bills, knowing what the future is there. So I think it'll be a very interesting budget season. The city council will start their deliberations in committee. And as we know, they have until July 1st to approve the budget. So we've got about a month and a half here, right? Actually, almost on the dot, a month and a half. 508-996-0500. App chat and open line voicemails on the WBSM app. So we can talk about that this morning. You also heard Ariel talk about that postal worker scandal in Rhode Island, where there was a group of postal workers, including a supervisor, who were conspiring to steal valuables from the mail. And I know what you're thinking to yourself. That's Providence. That's Rhode Island. That doesn't have anything to do with us. Guess where all of our mail comes from here on the South Coast? Open up, take out a piece of mail that you've received recently. I know. When was the last time that you actually got physical mail, right? But take a piece of mail that you received recently. Look at the stamp and see what's been stamped across that when it goes through the post office. What does that stamp say? Providence, Rhode Island. Our mail filters through these very people who had been stealing money. And you should never send money in the mail, never send cash, but they've been stealing money. I mean, listen, everybody's grandmother or great aunt is guilty of putting a $5 bill in a birthday card, and you think, it's not a big deal, it's just $5. But when people are running a theft ring out of the Postal Service and they steal the $5 out of every card that a grandma sent, those $5 bills add up. They stole checks, which, how do you even cash checks in this day and age that aren't made out to you? But they stole checks, they stole gift cards. It's easier than you think to steal valuables out of the mail when you are the mail. So they stole thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, and a lot of that was probably coming to the South Coast. So when Grandma says, "Did you get that $5 that I sent you for your birthday?" "Oh, no, I never did get it." "Oh, it must have gotten lost in the mail. I'll send you another $5. It wasn't lost in the mail. That was a terrible grandma impression. I'm sorry to all the grandmas out there. I mean, I would have done an impression of my grandma, but I would have to, do the smoker voice. But the bottom line here is this did affect us. This did affect this area. So definitely you want to pay attention to that story. And another story that might interest you, which I have at WBSM.com and on the WBSM app. The news broke yesterday of a new arcade bar coming to Taunton. Now, this is an exciting story for a couple of reasons. Of course, any arcade bar is great news, right? Those are fun. But what's good about this is it's taking over a space that's been empty for going on 5 years. The former Pizzeria Uno on Route 140. It's right across from Home Depot, right next to, what's that, Bristol Plymouth there? Is that Bristol Plymouth or Bristol Aggie? I can't remember. But it's right there. Not that far off Route 1, off the highway. It's going to be an arcade bar that has, bar pizza and craft beers and lots of video games and skee ball and pinball and all that kind of stuff. But unlike other arcade bars where you go in and you can sit down and order food and then you pay for each game that you want to play, this place, which is called Free Play, actually charges a cover price, a cover charge to come in. So you pay $7 on weekdays, $12 on the weekends, just to get in the door. But once you get in the door, all the games are free to play. So you don't have to put quarters in, you don't have to put tokens in, you don't have to buy tokens, you don't have to get one of those cards that you swipe. All the games are free. So you can just play whatever you want for as long as you want, although be respectful to other people that might want to play those games. And have yourself a night full of fun on a $7 cover charge. Now, someone did post a comment yesterday that said, well, if they charge you to get in, why is it called free play? And that's actually an arcade term. When you go to play a game and it's set to, they can have it so that it collects coins or tokens or whatever, or they can have it set to where anybody can just play it. And that is called free play mode. So all the games are set to free play in free play bar arcade. Or arcade bar, I forget which order they put it in. Free play bar arcade. So that's why it's called that. Because all the games are free to play. They're in free play mode once you've gone in and paid your cover charge. So that'll be exciting. It's planned to open by October 1st. Of course, we have a great arcade bar here in New Bedford. People come from all over to go to play. There's also a free play in Providence already. They have locations in Providence and Worcester, so people love the concept. 508-996-0500. I've got to take a break here. We'll be back in a few moments. And, of course, once a month we have Manny the Money Man Resendiz come in for Money Monday, but that's the original Money Man, Eddie Money, which, fun trivia fact that I probably mentioned 100 times on the show already. Do you know how he got the name Eddie Money for his stage name? Because his real name is Eddie Mahoney. So it's pretty similar. Went from Mahoney to Money, and he had to have a stage name because he was a former New York City cop. So unless you wanted to have people showing up, people that he might have busted showing up to try to get revenge in the middle of a show by booing him or something, got to have a stage name. All right. Ariel, you got to skip those if you're going to. So we are going to be going into the newsroom and get all the headlines of the day from Ariel. On the other side of that, we'll take your phone calls, 508-996-0500. But right now, let's turn things over to Ariel Dorsey in the WBSM newsroom with all your headlines of the day.
Police in riot gear shut down university protesters, a decrease in overdose deaths, and a Hollywood producer faces prison time.
From the WBSM Newsroom, this is WBSM News.
Police in riot gear have cleared pro-Palestinian protesters from the campus of UC Irvine. Dozens of protesters on Wednesday occupied a building at the university near Los Angeles. The LA Times says about 200 police officers moved in on the crowd, made numerous arrests, and took down their tents. Activists at the protest say over 40 people were arrested. The White House is defending its approach to providing Israel with military aid. Reporters questioned Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre over why the administration chose to pause a shipment of bombs earlier this month, but is now moving forward with a new billion-dollar weapons package. Jean-Pierre said the administration is committed to providing Israel with defensive weapons, but is concerned over a potential full-scale military operation in Rafah. Former President Trump's private jet hit a parked plane at a Florida airport over the weekend. The Federal Aviation Administration released an accident notice that found Trump's Boeing 757, nicknamed Trump Force One, clipped another plane at Palm Beach International Airport around 2 a.m. Saturday. No injuries were reported, but there was an unknown amount of damage. The number of overdose deaths is down for the first time in 5 years. New preliminary data from the CDC's National Center for Health Statistics show about 107,500 people died from drug overdoses last year. Ben Carson is calling for an end to no-fault divorce laws in the U.S. In his new book out this week, the former Trump cabinet member says no-fault divorce should be removed or radically reduced for the sake of families. Carson says it's natural for people to gravitate toward that option when their marriage hits a rough patch, but he says what those people don't often consider is the harm inflicted on their children. And a Hollywood producer is going to prison for burglarizing homes in the Hamptons and Manhattan that belonged to his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend. A judge sentenced Raymond Brodero Tuesday to 3.5 years in prison and ordered him to pay $200,000 in restitution to the victim. Brodero produced the 2020 film Bill and Ted Face the Music.
WBSM Sports.
The Celtics beat the Cavaliers last night 113-98, earning a spot in Eastern Conference Finals. Boston will face the winners of the Knicks-Pacers series. The Red Sox fell to the Rays 3-4. They wrap up its 4-game series tonight. And the Bruins will host the Florida Panthers in Game 6, also tomorrow night.
Now, your ABC6 South Coast forecast, brought to you by C Street.
Rainy weather this Thursday morning and then showers likely this afternoon with cooler temperatures up in the mid-50s. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a chance of showers in the evening and patchy fog after midnight, lows in the lower 50s. The weather on WBSM is brought to you by C Streak. Whether it's a daycation or a staycation, get there with C Streak. Visit cstreak.com for reservations to Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket. I'm Ariel Dorsey for WBSM News. Stay up to date with New Bedford's news talk station, WBSM, and get all of our content and breaking news alerts with the WBSM app.
Welcome back in, 508-996-0500. So the sun isn't out today, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be thinking about solar, right? If you are thinking about going solar because you hear about the money that everybody else is saving and you want to know, will that happen for you? And how much is it going to cost to get started? Can I finance the solar panels? Do I have to pay everything up front? And really, how long will I have to wait to see that return on my investment? Will my bills go down right away? All of these questions are probably popping into your head if you're considering solar, but you don't really know how to find the right, legitimate, honest answers. Well, that's why you want to talk to Isaacson Solar. Because Isaacson Solar is a South Coast-based company. They're right in Fall River. They're local. They're here to stay. They don't just come in, sell you the panels, and move on to the next town. They're here to make sure that it's working for you. And they're not going to waste your time. You reach out to Isaacson Solar. You tell them that you're interested in finding out more. They'll come to your home. They'll take a look. They'll tell you, before they even sit down with you to answer your questions, they'll tell you whether or not they think that you're a good fit for solar. Whether it be on the roof, in the yard, on the garage, or they might say, we don't really see how it can work for you, not without taking down these trees or doing this or doing that. So they will give you those simple, honest, direct answers. There's no run around with them. There's no hard sales pitch with them. They want to make sure that solar is going to work for you. No gimmicks. No money grabs. Simple, honest, direct answers. So if you'd like to start the process of finding out more, then just reach out to them. IsaacsonSolar.com. IsaacsonSolar.com. KSEN. IsaacsonSolar.com. Reach out to them and get all your solar questions answered today. Now, I wonder how much solar power would need to be generated to operate a place like Play Arcade with all of their solar, or with all their video games and all their neon lights and all of that, right? It's like a sensory experience going in there. And I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. I could never walk by in a mall, an arcade, without going in. Well, let me just take a walk through and see what games. I'm not going to spend any time playing games. Let me just walk through and see what they have. And then inevitably, well, I haven't tried that game yet. And, you know, I never took $1 and put that into the change machine and got $1 worth of quarters. No, I'd put in a 5 or a 20. Well, I'm just going to stay until these are gone. Next thing you know, 2 hours has gone by. Not that I was really good at games, especially in the arcade. I very rarely beat a game in the arcade. I forget if it was Simpsons or Ninja Turtles. One of them I stayed in the arcade until we beat the game, and it took other people helping me. And then Revolution X, I think I got close, the Aerosmith game. But for the most part, I was not good at arcade games. Better at home than I was in the arcade. But I'd still go in. And now Taunton is going to have its own. Now, Taunton had, when the mall was still in existence, RIP Silver City Galleria, but when the mall was still around, they had that round one place in there. And we went there at least once with my son, maybe a couple times more, but I don't really recall a whole bunch of visits there. And I thought it was a fantastic place. They had karaoke rooms. They had games from Japan that you wouldn't find other places. They had what I thought was pretty amazing at the time, and turns out it's, you know, a common arcade thing, but I didn't know. Apps that you play on your phone ported out to arcade consoles. So you could play Fruit Ninja in the arcade. You could play Flappy Bird in the arcade. And so I thought, you know, this was just the best thing ever. But I didn't go back because it cost a lot of money. It was very expensive. It was at least $1 for every game. And, you know, we probably blew through $20 in 5 minutes. The last arcade that I remember going to was Barrett's in, West Bridgewater? And again, blew through money. So that's why I like the idea of this place that's coming to Taunton, this free play bar arcade, because you just pay one price to get in and all the games are set to free play. I've never been to the Providence one. Maybe I'll have to go and visit it to get a better idea. But my guess would be there'll be a lot of people there on a busy Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. There'll be a lot of people there, and there'll be a deep wait to get onto some of these games. Especially if it's something like, you know, air hockey, where somebody's going to want to take on the next person, and then the next person, and the next person, and you want to go and play with the people you're with, but you got to wait till that person decides they're done playing everybody that wants to challenge them. So I don't know how all that shakes out, but it must be working because they have the Providence location, they have the Worcester location, and now they're going to have this new third location. So should be exciting. The important part here, though, is an empty building that's been sitting around for 5 years is going to be back in use. We had that story a couple of weeks ago about how Burlington is moving into Fairhaven in the former job lot over next to Marshall's in the Fairhaven Commons Plaza. And so many people with negative criticisms toward Burlington. And the most common response was, so would you rather have that building sit empty for another 7 years as it's been? Is that a better option? Because nobody else was trying to move in there. I know you want a Whole Foods. I know you want a Trader Joe's. I'm sure they were both aware of the fact that there was an empty building there and neither one of them wanted to move in. So let's just be happy that it's getting filled with something. And I think Burlington gets a bad rap around here anyway, because I've gone into multiple other ones and they're not disaster prone like the Dartmouth one is, which I will admit has been better the last couple times I've gone in. But I was just in the Burlington in Fall River last Saturday, returning a pair of shoes that I bought 2 Fridays before. They were just a little too big. And when I had gone in 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever, it was nice and neat and things were where they were supposed to be. And then when I went in on Saturday, same way. And that's been my experience in Raynham, in Brockton. So I wouldn't, and the other thing, people calling it a junk store. I wouldn't call it a junk store. I get lots of good stuff, and I think the clothes that I'm wearing now might have come from there. I mean, there's a lot in there. I've purchased luggage in there. I've purchased, I guess, what would you call it? Hygiene products. I just bought a new gym bag in there. I mean, there's lots of stuff in there. So I think the people who are commenting negatively are just assuming what it is and have never been in it. Anyway, 508-996-0500. We'll be back in a few moments.
So mean, I don't care. I love the eyes and the wild, wild hair. Dance to the beat that we like best. Heading for the 90s, living in the wild, wild west. The wild, wild west.
I mean, I'm still living for the 90s. I'm forever stuck in the 90s. 508-996-0500. App chat and open line voicemails on the WBSM app. We did get an app chat message from Participation Trophy wife in New Bedford who says the Cape Cod mail also goes through Providence, that she has a granny that sends cards on the Cape. And yeah, and it's something that I never really understood either. That if you were sending a card from Hyannis to New Bedford, it went to Providence first and then came back to New Bedford. But that's how it works. And this group of people, these mail carriers and a mail supervisor, were working together to steal valuables from the mail. Cash, checks, gift cards. So if somebody mails you something and you never received it, that could be why. By the way, the rain is really coming down right now. So if you were planning on heading out, but you can wait a little longer, I would do so. Although it's supposed to be like this throughout the course of the day, but I'd say it's raining cats and dogs, but I don't hear any meowing or barking. So just coming down really hard. But yeah, so your mail goes through Providence, and these folks were stealing things from that mail. And I never understand either how this works. Like how they think they're going to get away with it is what I should say. How do they not suspect that they're going to be found out? They know how the mail works. I mean, I suppose the argument here is, well, they know how to get around it. But then also, how'd they get caught then? So I think that there's probably layers to this that maybe you and I don't understand, and there's maybe even fail-safes in place that the postal carriers don't even know about. But the bottom line is now they are found out, and again, these are all just alleged crimes. They will have their trial, but that $5 grandma might have sent you in the mail might have gone to them. Because isn't it funny how, it must have gotten lost in the mail, people will say when you don't get a check or a gift card or cash. Oh, it must have gotten lost in the mail. I've never had a bill get lost in the mail. Those always seem to come perfectly fine, far too often. I've never heard a radio commercial from a car dealer that says, check your mailbox. The key in your mailbox might fit a brand new whatever. I've never not gotten that key in the mailbox. By the way, that's one of my favorite promotions. Because you just end up with a key that you're probably not going to go down there and try it. But you just end up with this random key. And you save up enough of those, you can make a little key ring of keys that don't go to anything. And then you just hang it up in the house and be like, what if these keys go to? It'll drive people crazy for generations to come. I found these keys in Grandpa's desk. What are these for? They're really just for a bunch of car dealerships that didn't actually win a car. Or maybe they were the winners. I mean, you didn't know because you never went. 508-996-0500. I've got to take my final break of this hour. We'll be back in a few moments.
Cause heaven's got a number when she's spinning me around. Kissing is a color, a loving is a wild dog. She's got the look. 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 What in the world can make a brown-eyed girl turn blue?
By the way, Roxette is planning a tour. They're going to be hitting the road. The original lead singer, the female singer, passed away due to cancer a few years ago, but there's a new singer, and they're going to be hitting the road. So I don't know if I would go to that one, but I do like Roxette's music. Also, we've got so many concerts coming up for you to go to. Maybe that's another one we can add to the list. But
Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
If you've struggled for years to lose weight and have given up hope, did you know you can now access GLP-1 prescription medications at TryLifeMD.com? We're now offering eligible patients online access to GLP-1s, the breakthrough prescription medication that can help you lose body fat and weight. Listen to what people are saying.
It's fun to put on jeans that you couldn't get into 6 months ago.
Every morning, I look forward to getting on the scale.
For anybody who's struggling with their weight, it's a godsend.
And here's the best part. Your insurance may cover 100% of the cost of your medication. So go to TryLifeMD.com to have your eligibility checked right now. Get started today at TryLifeMD.com. That's TryLifeMD.com.